Struggling with tight-fisted buyers who want to write lowballs in a seller's market? Well, today we're going to talk about how to get them to want to actually write a winning offer. What's happening? J.C Agajanian here, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group at EXP, bringing you the Monday morning mastermind recap. So what I'm doing is breaking down the highlights of the mastermind that the Fast Forward Network puts on every Monday with hundreds of the nation's top producing agents talking about production-oriented questions. Today we've got two big ones that we discuss for an hour in the mastermind on a Zoom with over 600 people. First one is helping buyers write winning offers when they have a tendency to want to write a lowball offer. Of course, this is in the context of the strong seller's market that we're currently experiencing. The next topic we're going to talk about is leveraging dialing software. What are you using? How are you using it? What is the best way to get these seller leads that we need so desperately with a dialer? So we're going to get into that in a moment as well. But right now, let's dive straight into the first topic at hand, helping buyers write winning offers. And as we step back like we usually do before we get into the logistics and the mechanics of actually helping answer the question, we talk about the topic in general. This is more about coaching and counseling these buyers than it is really the mechanics on how to do it. We're talking about someone who is in a seller's market wanting to lowball. As an agent, you know it's just a bad recipe. This is something that comes up on a regular basis. There are plenty of times when maybe you get some feedback to a buyer. Hey, right now there's no offers in. We don't know what could happen before the seller sits down with the agent to decide, but right now there's nothing. They're like, cool, does that mean I can write an under asking price? No, listen, there are likely gonna be 5 to 10 offers that come in between now and then. And we have to explain that and we have to help them get on board. So ideally, the whole mentality, the thought process starts with a buyer consultation. The goal is to update them on the market, on what's winning in this market, what's frustrating buyers and how to avoid that, and how we're helping our clients navigate the current landscape to get accepted offers without having to write 2, 5, 10 offers, driving all over the county, trying to find that right property for them. It's a nightmare, and it's not just a nightmare for us agents, it's a nightmare for the buyers too. It's up to us to help streamline this process, even in a tough, competitive seller's market. That's what this is all about, right? So a good kind of like a soft-handed approach to this is just, whether you're still in that initial consult when you're setting expectations and advising and informing them, or maybe that didn't happen for one reason or another, or you're just down the road a little bit and you're having to talk about what to do next when it comes time to put an offer together. A good soft-handed approach to it is just ask them questions like, hey, how's your experience been so far? What's been good? What's been bad? How far have you gotten in the process? Maybe they've been working on their own, just talking to random listing agents at open houses and seeing if they can get offers accepted. Maybe they had another agent they were committed to and they had a bad experience. Whatever the case, you need to know where they're at. Maybe they're starting from scratch and they haven't done anything, but find out where they're at, how that experience has been so far, and how far they've gotten in the process. And then that opens up opportunities for further questions. You've written 5 offers so far. Gosh, tell me a little bit about that. And you're looking for the reason, what is the common thread here that they've done that? Or we haven't even had a chance because our finances aren't squared away yet. So, okay, we got to go in a different direction, make sure this person is good to go on the financing front. It can open up a lot of helpful information just by starting off with some gentle questioning. When it comes time to actually, you got a property this client's in love with and you want to put together an offer and you're talking about strategy, a good thing to do is to comp out the property. Not just because you want to know what a good number would be, but it's mostly an educational exercise, right? So you bring the comps and you're going to circle some key pieces of data on these comp sheets, right? You're going to circle the days on market. You're going to circle the sales price and of course the listing price. What you're trying to do is help them understand with the data, because some people are a lot more analytical than they are emotional or, whatever. There's different ways everyone's minds work. So this is a great way to just realize, look, this property sold in 3 days. It sold more than the list price. And look, it closed less than a month later. So it's a quick escrow, a quick market time, and a greater than over contract price. That type of information is going to lead a buyer away from the lowballing tendencies without you even having recommended, really. Like, just before we even get to what my recommendation is for you or what I think we ought to do with this offer is, we've started and the numbers are speaking for themselves. So you give them the information and ask questions. What do you think about this? Where do you think we ought to land for this property based on this data that we just looked at? Usually it will put you in the right direction. Even better if you run the statistics, if you know the data above and beyond the simple comps that you're presenting that buyer right there, but say, listen, what we've experienced over the past 3 months in this current market that we're in, because things have changed a lot in the last year or two, but we've had hot markets and cold markets, but now we're hot again with rough inventory, right? What we've seen is in this neighborhood, in this county, you're gonna have to pay whatever it is, 2 to 3% over list price, 5 to 10% over list price, whatever is happening in your market, figure it out and advise them of that. Say, so listen, to offer this much over the list price is about appropriate. So it doesn't feel like they're reaching or they're doing something crazy. No, this is what it takes to win, because all the winning bids are this much above that list price, right? So you're informing them and you're giving them data to work on that puts them in the group of not only winners, but the majority of people, right? People don't want to feel like they're out on a ledge doing their own thing that's risky. They want to feel like they're part of a group of people that are winning. Honestly, the groupthink mentality, we can go way in a different direction here, but even outside of real estate, groupthink in general, even if people are moving off a cliff, as long as you're a big horde, people are going to want to be part of that horde and move forward. So kind of keep that in mind when you're talking to people. What the majority of people are doing is X, and that just them being in the majority of people is a psychological pat on the back, and it's comforting to them. So kind of got off on a tangent there, but that's good psychology of sales right there. But keeping it real, like sometimes people just need to lose out before they can win. I have been through this plenty of times. There's plenty of buyers who will not listen to your advice until they feel it. And then they learn it themselves, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's what you said, huh? Now they'll listen to you. But there's plenty of buyers that just need to lose out before they can win. So just all you gotta do is make sure you manage your time well, that you're not wasting time on the client. Obviously, as long as someone is not completely going nowhere and they have intentions of getting to the right place, it's not a wasted exercise. But sometimes you need to write a losing offer and just be real with the agent on the other side and say, hey, you know, this one is a learning lesson. I know this is not a winning offer, but my clients wanted to do this, and I would just love as much feedback as you can give me. Once we lose out on this one, how many offers you get, how high it went over asking, so I can really educate them and help them get on board to taking my advice. Is that cool? And most agents on the other side are going to be happy to give you that information because they've been in the same boat you have. So that, no problem, I got you. You know, here's your crap offer, rejection, and by the way, there were 10. It went 50K over asking, and we're going to close in 14 days, whatever the case may be, and you get that feedback back to that buyer, and only the pain of losing something they really wanted will help them fall in line and also take your advice. Unfortunately, there's people like that, and it's not an overwhelming minority. It's probably, you know, like 5 to 10% of buyers are like that. Yeah, kind of have to run into it a lot, unfortunately. It's the way it is. And the good thing is, once they go through that, usually they're willing to do what it takes. Just, it's not a good feeling. On that point of reluctant buyers or people maybe unwilling to take your advice and you really knowing what needs to happen in order to get a win, sometimes you run into family or friends that are influencers on the decision-making process, and it's not always helpful. So I know you know what I'm talking about, and that could be a whole other conversation as well. You could read through the lens there, but we need to identify these people. Family members, friends who are influencing this decision-making process, unless they are some top producing agent that's doing a whole lot more business than you are in some other market, there's a good chance that person needs to be ignored, right? Like, we are the professional here. We're the ones putting our own livelihood on helping this person get their goal accomplished. We are aligned here in doing the right thing together. So can you just take a step back and let us do our thing? So just be aware of that. Of course, you know, if you've got any sort of meaningful experience in the business, you've run into that yourself, but realize, just be aware of that and how to mitigate that as you go forward. You know, it's just something to be on guard for, really. We're talking about either offering figures or maybe you're dealing with a counter. What I found is the best thing to do is to make it clear that you want them if they really love this property and they can see themselves in it and they're already picturing, where the barbecue's gonna go and what to do to that room that's a little funky, maybe some paint or flooring or whatever, if they're that far into it and they're really feeling it, you want them thinking properly on this counteroffer. There's other offers. It's probably a multiple counter. How are you gonna respond to this thing, right? A great line is to say, listen, I want you to be as aggressive as possible, so much so that if you lost the property at the price that you're telling me we want to counter at, over $5,000 or $10,000, you would sleep well at night. Like, no problem, that was my absolute max. I would love this property, but I can't go above X. And if it's another $5,000 or another $10,000, that small amount compared to what we're offering here, that's fine. I know we're done. We cannot go $1 above that. And just leave it there. And then sometimes they listen to that, but you need to kind of emphasize it even more. And this is an absolutely true statement. Listen, with hundreds of clients that we've helped, for me, 20 years, I've never had anyone complain to me or be upset that they maybe could have saved 10 grand on a purchase price and still taken the property down, maybe felt like they overpaid a little bit. But I've definitely had people express remorse that they didn't go up another 10K because they lost out over that small amount. And they find out after it closes, oh gosh, I was right there. I could have had it for 10,000 bucks more. I would have done that. And it's like, well, why didn't you? If it's not that big a deal now, why was it such a big deal when we were in this process? So we really have to help them get that mentality as we go forward when we're talking about counters and even offering prices up front. Similar thought process for those that want to think it over, right? Like, hey, yeah, let me sleep on it tonight. Give me a couple days on this. Okay, no problem. I do not want to put any pressure on anybody. This is a big deal for you. I want you to feel comfortable about it. Here's the thing though, this market's moving really quickly, and sometimes we are not guaranteed a counteroffer because other offers could come in so strong out of the gate that they don't even counter, they just accept it the way it is. If you woke up tomorrow morning and that happened, they went pending because of a really good one that came in between now and then, would you be okay with that? Or would you say, you know what, I'm glad I need to just sleep on it anyways. I really don't make decisions that quickly. It's a great way to say, no, we're not gonna think this over. If you want this property, if this is right for you and your family, if the pricing is right, we need to take action now. Because this offer isn't, or this market is not waiting for anybody. A couple good, constructive mindset tools that help people who maybe aren't understanding what it's going to take to get an offer accepted in this market. On that same topic of a headspace and a mentality, as agents, we need to sometimes get that eye of the tiger, right? And just have that mentality. We are adopting a serious, no lose, cannot be stopped mentality in helping our buyers. Because in all honesty, you're working with a seller, hey, let the offers come in, I'll negotiate strong, jack that price up if I can for my seller and move on. It's not the same mentality as going to battle in a buyer situation where there's gonna be others you're going up against. So we need to have that mentality. We need to be psyched up mentally. We need to be coaching these clients to do what it takes to win. Of course, we need to connect with the listing agent. We need to know what's needed from the seller to make them happy. We need to have this attitude that we will not be beat. We will do what it takes to make your seller smile and to make our buyer the one who's going to go ahead and move in here next month. So just more mentality and mindset stuff going on right there. In the end, we can't really tell these buyers what to do. We have to be the ones guiding them. And so a couple great tips brought up today were using the word if, a different phrase, how would you feel? You could use it in a multitude of situations, but a good example would be hey, if you knew this one is going to be used for a comp in this neighborhood, let's say we miss out on this one, and it's going to go, gosh, probably a crazy price that maybe you're not happy with. But listen, if you knew that that's going to be used as a comp for the mystery property, we don't know what it is, but we know it's going to be here, and it's somebody else that's been watching this one, and they're going to bring it to market, and you're going to fall in love with that one, but now they're going to build on the shoulders of this one, and they're going to use that new higher sales price than the comps that supported this listing to support this new one. If you knew that, would it change the way you approach this one that you really feel strongly about? That's just one example. You could use the if you knew or if you were to in multiple ways, but you could help them get the gears turning and shift the mentality, especially when you're adding new information or maybe obvious information that you just needed to point out. Like clearly, some listing agent pulled comps, set a price on the home that they're looking at. And if this one's too expensive for them, or they found a problem with it, that it's not worth that price for some reason, they maybe kind of know, but making it a plainly clear, like, that's going to be used as a comp for this one now. And then now it's going to be even higher on that one. Like, it's just going to keep ratcheting up. What do you want to do about that? Like, so helping them understand that is another game changer. Another idea is like, how would you feel? How would you feel if we lost out on this one and we're kind of back to square one? You know, or how would you feel could be moving in a lot of different directions? But those are just kind of another talking tracks and different ways to help the client get on the same page with you, the one who's dealing with this market day in and day out. But we're going to wrap that subject right there. We're going to move on to smiling and dialing, leveraging dialing software. What tools are you using like we do most of the time? Well, let's take a step back first. Most importantly than the tool that you're using and which system you sign up for, are you calling the right people and pairing it with the right script, right? So like before we get into like, does it have a triple line? Is it a double line? You know, can you drop voicemails? And is there any way you can have a dialer that will war dial for you, meaning call the same person 3 times in a row? I haven't heard of that, but that'd be awesome if it does exist. Let's make sure we've got a phenomenal script that's been internalized that we can, in role play, deliver brilliantly and close with confidence on a regular basis before we actually get in and start putting the time in and making these dials, right? So we always have to pull back and like look at the big picture. Why are you wanting this tool or this system? How are you going to handle it? And what are you going to say to people when you get them on the phone? And who are these people? What kind of lists are you pulling? Keep that stuff in mind first. If you are already with EXP, you have a CRM platform that has a dialer built into it. It's called kvCORE. If you're not using kvCORE and you're using some other CRM, that's fine. You may be losing out if it doesn't have a dialer built into it. So kvCORE does, I believe it is a single line dialer. I don't think it does double or triple. But that's something that you don't have to pay anything extra for if you're part of the EXP family already. Another thought, people simply answer their phones less. One, top producer stepped up on the call this morning and says, listen, have you compared your hand dialing versus dialing with a tool like an auto dialer? What we should be focusing is on not the amount of dials we're getting through, but how many conversations are these dials leading to? That's more important than the amount of calls being made. So if by hand dialing and war dialing or calling someone 3 times in a row in order to get a pickup is going to have more conversations with fewer dials in the same amount of time, that's going to win in my book. I mean, you tell me how you feel about it, but I'd rather have 50 conversations in a fewer amount of dials by hand as opposed, or 50 would be a ton, but maybe say 10 in a call period, right? As opposed to maybe fewer, like 5, but I happen to call 3 times as many people in that period of time. It's like, who cares, right? You didn't make connections with them. So keep in goal not only the right people, the right scripts. Are you experienced? Have you practiced what you're going to say? Of course, I mentioned that kvCORE has a dialer, but like, let's focus on those connections. That's what's important here, not how many people you dial. And just kind of keep your expectations in check, of how many people you think you're actually going to be able to get on the line in a certain period of time. There's some great dialers. I've used Mojo a bunch in my time, but I've heard good things about Vulcan 7. We use a Follow-Up Boss as our CRM, and there's a single line dialer built into that system. There's RedX. There are a ton of systems out there. That the thing, again, that we're going to focus on is not the tool so much in this topic, in this mastermind topic, but what you're doing. Like one agent gave an example of his setup, and he's using Vulcan 7, and he's got Follow-Up Boss as well. So he'll pull in probate lists, pre-foreclosure lists, expired lists, for sale by owner lists. And this is for his team. He's a team lead. And he'll pull them in and they'll dial through them, and they'll change out the data sets each week. New data comes out, I think, on a given day each week. They pull it in, and each lead, each phone number, I guess, from the system, he is expecting to get at least 5 attempts from his agents on each one. And after that, if it's kind of works like a pawn, if they actually make a connection, they get to claim that, put it in their Follow-Up Boss system, and then nurture that. Did this person say 6 months from now I need to sell this house, or a year from now, or right now, whatever the case may be, You need to set up your follow-up call sequence. You need to set up a drip of some sort that's going to stay in touch with them in between time. All that stuff happens in the CRM. That's not in the dialer itself. But you're using the dialer to get those people to raise their hand and say, yeah, actually, I'm thinking about doing something, and it's going to be this kind of amount of timing. An appointment now is appropriate before an appointment in the future, or maybe not. Those are all details you can sort out. The point is, know which type of list you're talking to. A pre-foreclosure is going to be a very different conversation than someone who's doing it for sale by owner, right? And this goes back to what we said at the top of this topic. Like, who are you talking to and what scripts are you using? And are you experienced and practice with those scripts on a regular basis? That's more important than which tool you're. Find one that fits your budget, find one that's got the bells and whistles that you want, and hammer through them until you get those people to raise their hand. Then, like I said, put them in the system that you're using and make appropriate follow-up phone calls and drips in the meantime until you're able to get out there for that listing appointment and take them down. That's it. That's all we got for today. I hope this was helpful, and as usual, I hope that there's something that you can take and implement into your business regarding coaching buyers to write winning offers and leveraging dial-in software. I'm J.C Agajanian, and I'd love to chat with you. If you've got any questions or comments on any of this content, you can DM me right here. Talk to you soon.